Remember last time we talked about PED, which is price elasticity of demand? Price elasticity of demand is to measure the responsiveness to the price changes from the consumer points of view. And this week we're going to talk about PES, which is price elasticity of supply. Welcome to Fun Economics, it's Nathan here. Today we are going to measure how responsive is the producers, which response when they are responding to the price changes. Again, elasticity is to measure the responsiveness, the flexibility, and also to see whether they are sensitive or not. Let's just go straight to the video. Before we go straight to the video, remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. And you will get a new free video every week. Let's now go straight to the video. Okay, step number one. Step number one will still be the definition. Definition is still very important in economics. Definition of PES is the measure of responsiveness of quantity supply to the percentage in the price changes. So quantity supply, of course, is related to the producer. And step number two. Step number two will be the formulas. The formulas can be seen behind, which is the percentage change of quantity supply divided by percentage change in the price. Of course, after we use this formula, that will bring us to step number three, which are all the coefficients. For the coefficients, again, they are 0, or they are 1, they are between 0 and 1, they are infinite, and they are greater than 1 until infinite. Before we continue on step number 3, remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. And please write in the comments below if you have any questions, if you want to ask me anything, or if you like or don't like my video, please type in some feedback so that I know how can I improve. Now let us continue with the coefficients. For coefficients equals to 0, which means the curve, the supply curve now is no longer demand curve, it's a supply curve, will be perfectly inelastic. Just like that. If you cannot remember, don't worry. As a resourceful people, I will share with you another tip, which is similar to the previous one. You just need to use some imaginary line. Imagine there's one more horizontal line on top. It looks like what? It looks exactly like perfect I. So perfect I stands for perfectly inelastic, because inelastic starts with the letter I. Second coefficient will be infinite. When the coefficient is infinite, it will be perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic, again, you can just use the imaginary line. When you see the imaginary line on top, you will see that it's a perfect E, which shows that now the producers are very elastic. They are very responsive. As long as you can afford that price, they produce as much as possible. So that one is perfectly elastic. So one example for this may be, initially, there is no such thing as spaceship. Even they have spaceship, the price will be very high, for example. But after that, suddenly, the price dropped. So the producers are willing to supply infinite units of spaceship. So that's something that you can link to. The third one will be when the PS is equals to 1. When PS is equals to 1, it is unitary elastic. For unitary elastic, PS has a very special characteristic that PED doesn't have, which means as long as the supply curve is connected, is linked to the origin, then regardless of how you draw, what angle that you draw the supply curve, then the PES will still always be equals to 1 if you calculate the percentage divided by another percentage of price. The second last one will be when PES is between 1 and 0. When PES is between 1 and 0, it means that the supply curve is inelastic. Not perfectly inelastic, but inelastic. What do we mean by that? It means that the suppliers now, they don't respond too much, because even though the price percentage change can be a lot, they don't have that. Some of the reasons that we are going to discuss in step number 4. So you just need to use your imaginary line again. You can see that it's an italic I and it's not perfect I. That's why it's inelastic. The last coefficient will be when it is elastic. When it's elastic, the coefficient will be greater than 1 until infinite. This means PES, the suppliers actually can respond very fast to the price changes. They are very flexible on producing the goods and services based on the percentage change in the price. That will bring us to step number 4. Step number 4 is about the reasons, the determinants on why the PS can be 1, can be 0, can be between 1 and 0, can be infinite, and can become greater than 1 until infinite. Reason number 1 is because of the capacity. Capacity is usually for those factories that still have capacity, which means they still have some unemployed resources. Because they have unemployed resources, like they never operate their factory 24 hours a day, they just operate 8 hours, so they still have extra capacity. Then it will lead to their PS to be greater than 1, which is elastic. So any price changes, they will increase their capacity because they still have the space, they still have the storage, they still have the resources that they haven't used up. On the other hand, if they already have full capacity, just like maybe the globe already have, the entire earth already have more than enough human, the earth cannot sustain anymore, so let's try to save the earth. Then that's the problem. When we have already achieved our full capacity, we use up all the resources, even though the price changes by a lot, it's attractive, but the factories, the suppliers, they cannot change too much on their quantity supply because they already run out of capacity, which means the factory already operate 24 hours a day, or they already use up all the labor in the economy. The labor achieve full employment, they cannot hire any more labor, then they will be inelastic. For second factor, you can think about perishability, which means whether the products has an expired date or not. If the product has expired date, most probably it will lead to the suppliers willing to supply at a very low price regardless of price changes, so there will be more price inelastic in their PES because they want to get rid of all the goods before they spoil, before they expire, so that they don't need to throw away all the inventories. However, if all the manufactured products are usually have expiry date more than 2 years, 5 years, or other electronic products, then they are not worried about the expiry date. They are not worrying about perishability. So they can actually be sensitive into the price. They just produce a lot, put in the warehouse, and when the price increase, then they will sell more. So the quantity supply will be more responsive. They are more elastic. The third one will be time to produce. It depends on whether longer time to produce or shorter time to produce. Let's take back our Burger 460 and TST example. Long time I never mentioned that. So Burger 460, if you think, how long do they need to produce the burger? Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes? So even a lot of customers suddenly come into their shop. Don't worry, they can produce their burgers pretty fast because they have a system, right? So the time to produce is short, which means they're elastic, they can reap all the profits. However, if you think about the hot pots, normally average time per table is around 1 to 2 hours because we need to give additional soup, additional service, additional food when they order and so on. And we have to wait until the food is ripe, then only we can consume. So even a lot of consumers is here, they have to wait for the tables. So the time to produce is very long. And because of that, they are not flexible, they are inelastic. And this will lead them to lose a lot of customers sometimes when there is peak hours or there's during weekend. That's why another famous steamboat restaurant, Hai Di Lao, actually come out with differentiated services. so that they can keep their customers while they are waiting. So what they do, they do manicure, they do pedicure, they give some nuts, they give some free flow soft drinks, and so on, in order, because they know that they are in the inelastic supply curve. Number 4 can be the producer expectation. Whether you expect the price increase is long-term or short-term. If you expect the price is long-term, the producers, they might build extra capacity, extra factories. They might buy new capital goods so that they can increase their capacity. So they will be more elastic. PS will be greater than 1. However, if they expect the price is like during festive season, it is just a short-term price increase during Christmas, during Chinese New Year, during Hari Raya and so on, then they will not go and buy a factory just for that 2 months period, or they will not go and buy a tractor, they will not build a new building just for that 1 to 2 days. So their producer supply will be still inelastic, which is between 1 and 0. The last one would be the resources availability. So you are talking about unique resources, just like the shield of Captain America is made by vibranium. Although I don't know whether it's vibranium or not, you can type in the comments below and let me know what type of metal, so I suddenly can't recall. This type of resources can only get in Wakanda, so it's very hard to get. Then your supply will be inelastic. Even a lot of people want to buy that shield, you cannot produce because you cannot find the resources, because your resources are unique. However, if your resources are common resources, just like you can buy it from market anywhere, your raw materials, all the resources you can get from the market itself, not hard to find and not risky to find, then your producer supply curve will be more elastic, which is greater than 1. Thank you for watching my YouTube videos. Basically, I shoot all these videos so that people can get some economics knowledge. They can use it for investment, can use it for property or for business. If you like my video, remember to like, subscribe and click the bell icon. And I do have a Facebook group to discuss about investment. If you like to join my Facebook group, just click on the link below and I will see you on the other side.